Good afternoon. Jeff Dawson from a, believe it or not, cloudy and to just the south, rainy Dallas, Texas. It's only going to be 99 degrees today. I was going to go take my swim in the pool, and I got to looking around going, man, what's going on? I pulled up the radar, and it's like, look at that. There is a huge system to the south, southeast of Dallas, and it's moving south-southwest, which is just back asswards. And that can really spawn some bad storms. But other than that, it's July, it's Texas, it's hot, duh. And anyone who keeps complaining about it, you haven't been down here very long, have you? Obviously not. I mean, I'm old enough at 63 that I can remember the summer of 1980, 2006. 80 was brutal. I was up in Tulsa recovering, but I was watching the reports and how bad it was in Dallas. It was like 105, 110, and this was before everyone made a big deal about the heat index. And I worked in that heat through summers. I've been in construction life, but you don't bitch about it. We'd go to work at 6 o'clock and we'd get off about 3:30 or 4 just before it really got bad. We didn't have to be told to get hydrated or stay hydrated. We had water coolers on the job site. You get thirsty, you get a drink. You got overheated, you took a break, look for some shade. But when you were on a paving crew, there wasn't a whole lot of shade. But we would, okay, if you saw somebody about to fall out, we'd rotate. It was that simple. And that's going to be the main topic of this with the new Globe Life sardine can that's enclosed. But before I really get into that, I want to talk about everyone is starting to sign up with this electronic strike zone crapola. I was an umpire. And the way they've set this up, if a ball just nicks that imaginary box, it's a strike. No, it's not. Whether it's a high pitch, a low pitch, inside or outside, just nicking the black of the plate for me was not a strike. The ball had to be over the black. All the ball, at least 3/4 of it, not just nicking it. I mean, you take an inside pitch with the way they're setting this up, and it could actually be off the plate. But as long as it just barely touches that black strike, that's not a strike. That's bullshit. That's all that is. It's bullshit. As an umpire, we know that. We have to imagine it. Letters to knees. And the MLB changed it at one time to where it was belt buckle to knees because they were trying to help batting averages. You know, I am sick of this crap of we got to help the hitters. We got to help the hitters. Look at what those hitters are making, and they're still hitting 220, 230. I mean, Josh Smith with the Rangers is hitting 262. He probably lost a few points last night, but he's a rookie. And for what these guys are making, and that's the best they can do, I don't know a job where you can be right 26, 27% of the time and get paid millions of dollars a year. But obviously, it's okay if you're in the major leagues. It doesn't matter how bad you are at the plate, that you can't hit 300. I pay somebody $32.5 million a year. You better be hitting 300 because 250, 255, 260 is not acceptable. But then that is the world settling for mediocrity, and there seems to be a whole lot of that going on right now. But this electronic strike zone, it's set up wrong. I mean, when I was behind the plate, yeah, I was called Shoelace Dawson because I did like them just a little bit below the knees. But everybody knew it. They knew my zone. And it's like, you better swing. And I love the inside and outside corners, but the ball had to be over the plate. Not just nick it, not just barely have a thread, scratch that line. This whole thing is a joke. And for these announcers that the Rangers have. Grieve, hot. Raymond, he's an idiot. He's just a puss. Vale, hell, he was a catcher, and now he's signing up for this because he made the statement, well, I've seen where it changes the whole complexity of an at-bat where it should have been called a ball, but it was a strike, or it was a strike and it was called a ball, and it just changes your approach. If you're making $10 million a year, you better adjust. It really is that simple. And who are the other idiots the Rangers have that are on board? Oh, Nitkowski, Nitwit. Oh, good God. What a collection of clowns the Rangers have. That's all they are. They're clowns. They never call out the piss poor defensive play. They just kind of ignore it and move on and then make excuses. And I've never been one for lame excuses. But these announcers are bought and paid for. That's all it is. Homerism is, that's not even close to describe how pathetic they are when they call these games. They really are. So, yeah, I am against the strike zone in the pitch clock. You know, it's a rule. Anybody who has read a major league rule book knows it's a rule. When I called games, it's a rule. It was 20 seconds. When my son Justin took me to a Frisco Rough Riders game, I saw the pitch clock. I think they gave them 15. Can't umpires count to 15? See, in Little League, those games are timed. Hour and 50 minutes, hour and 55, because you've got games back to back to back to back, and you just can't keep running them over. Well, a tactic some coaches would use in that last inning when they knew time was running out was they'd try and slow the game down. Pitcher, tie your shoes. Oh, no, now you got to tie the other shoe. And I had a game where this happened. And this guy was apparently an attorney. At least that's who was sponsoring the team. And I walked out there because the fans are going nuts. And I said, will y'all just shut up and simmer down? I got out there and I said, Coach, I know what you're doing. And you have managed to waste 5 minutes. And I've already told the scorekeeper, add that 5 minutes. So your tactic isn't working. If you don't think your team is good enough to hold the lead, too damn bad. Get your ass back to the dugout and let's play ball. Or I'll throw you and your pitcher out of the game. What do you want to do? But that's being aware as an umpire. I mean, the Rangers had a pitcher, I think his name was Padilla. He was horrible. My God, it'd take him like 30 to 35, 40 seconds to deliver a pitch. And I'm like, why isn't anybody calling him out? You got 20 seconds. That's what the rule book used to say. 20 seconds from the time the catcher throws the ball and the pitcher receives. You got 20 seconds to do something with that ball. That's it. It's just like if a batter, let me finish this. If a pitcher doesn't, then as an umpire, I can automatically call a ball. And I did this in a game. And I mean, you'd have thought, good Lord, the world just came to another coach, goes, what are you doing, Blue? And I said, he's got 20 seconds. That was 21. It's time to speed the game up. Let's go. Let's go. Throw the ball. I'll do it again. And I'll keep doing it. It's just like a batter. I've told batters, get in the box, and they'd stand there. A stalling tactic. Pitcher's got 20 seconds, and I'd get to that 20-second count. Ski right. Or I'd just say, pitcher, throw the ball. Catcher, stand up, play catch with them. And it's a strike. And, of course, the coach is going nuts. And I said, you know, when the batter's not in the box, then I can determine what the strike zone is because I have nothing to gauge it off of since your batter refuses to get in the box. So you can stop all this foolishness. No, we've got to make a big deal. And how much money are the stadiums going to spend putting in time clocks when all the umpire has to do is count in his head? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, it's not that hard. That's what I did. Pitchers get the message. Catchers get the message. Some of the catchers would say, hey, come on, Bill, throw the ball. He's about to call another ball. It's not that hard. But in today's world, everybody wants to make it complex and ridiculous. And let's add more rules when you already have existing rules in place. Just enforce them. It was just like the Buster Posey rule. There is a rule in the book that the catcher cannot block the plate until he has received the ball. but for decades it was never enforced. Just like the Chase Utley play at second, where they came up with the neighborhood play was a good idea, but the neighborhood became the whole town and the city block. I mean, shortstops and second basemen weren't even coming close. They weren't even making an effort to tag second on a double play. They'd be 2 or 3 feet off. The neighborhood play, if you could be within 6 to 4 inches, make a concerted effort to try and tag the base, but avoid a major collision. That's what the rule was for. But it really wasn't a rule. It was one of the unwritten rules. So just enforce what's on the books. It's not that hard. But when you have lawyers involved, it all goes to hell. So the pitch clock is not needed. The umpire is capable of counting to 15 or 20. And if he's not, then he shouldn't be on the field. And this electronic strike zone is just a joke, because a lot of balls will still be called strikes that aren't over the plate. And all of these pansies that are signing on are just that, a bunch of lightweight pantyways. So in last night's game between the A's, our brilliant announcers, Tom Grieve, retire, Tom, it's time. Tired of hearing your old stories. And Dave Raymond, he's just a puss. He is such a lightweight. I can't stand him. They were just oozing with excitement over how the temperature inside was only 75 degrees and how the Rangers are doing their part to keep the grid from crashing. Well, you know, to me, what's more important is a retirement home, an apartment complex for the elderly, a business, a restaurant. Those to me are essentials. Air conditioning a baseball stadium is not an essential. It is a huge luxury, and at what cost and what strain. How many kilowatts is that thing eating up? For what? Oh, so the women don't sweat in their silk blouses? Wah, wah, wah. If you look at the attendance before they built this tin can of a monstrosity, $1.1 billion, Rangers were averaging 2 million a year. It's Texas, it's July, it's August, it's gonna be hot. Now they did schedule a game, and I forgot what year it was, where they were recording the field temperature at like 110 or 115. Well, that was a huge scheduling faux pas. That was like a 1:30 or 2 o'clock game in August or July, and I think I know someone that they had gone out. They didn't go out to that game. Maybe they did, but they said no. It was that game, and it was hot. Well, I wouldn't have gone to that, but the people that showed up made the choice. Nobody was telling them they had to go. They showed up, and the players, they made it through. They survived it, and they weren't making near the money what these guys are today. And yeah, after the game, they talked about it. It was hot. Well, you know something? If you watch the girls' softball tournament in Oklahoma City, it was in the mid-90s. Did you see any of those girls whimpering and whining? You could tell they were sweating their asses off. They weren't whimpering and whining. They were there to play ball. All the tournaments for Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, BBI, you name the league, Dixie, this is the time their tournaments are going on. And it's hot. I've called some of those tournaments. They go all through the day. And how do we get through that? We, especially the catchers, I would talk to each coach, watch your catcher. I'll watch your catcher. Son, if you think it's too hot and you're starting to see 2 or 3 baseballs, tell me. We'll take a break. We'll cool you off, okay? We do not need heat stroke on the field. And I actually had that happen to me in a game, but that was in May. But the temperature was only 84, but the humidity was like 80 or 85. The pitcher let go of the ball, and I saw 2 balls come across that plate. And I called time because I was on the verge of heat stroke. And I just remember saying, time, I need a bottle of cold water and I need a cold towel right now. And I mean, those coaches, they didn't bat an eye. They came out, they cooled me off and said, what happened, Blue? And I said, I saw 2 baseballs come across that plate. And they said, that's not good. And I said, give me 5 minutes, let me cool down, and I'll see if I can continue. But that was an all-day tournament. Yeah, it's hot, but we learn to adjust. We learn to compensate. We learn to deal with it. The college baseball World Series, they had excellent weather this year in Omaha. It was unbelievably how nice it was. I think for the most part, it was in the mid-80s, but there have been other years where it was 98 plus. Did those guys bitch, moan, and complain? No. What about the guys in the minor leagues that have to play in this all the time? Did they bitch, moan, and complain? No. So where did they get a license to bitch, moan, and complain at the major league level? Oh, it's because the pussy announcers like Raymond and Grieve and Bale and Nitwit and all of them that, well, it's just too hot. You know, look at the guys in the Hall of Fame that came before you. Look at the teams up north that their season starts in April and it's freezing cold. I remember the Red Sox Yankees series, and that had to have been, I keep forgetting, I should have looked it up. It was the year the Red Sox finally broke the Bambino curse and won the World Series. It was freezing cold. It was high in the 50s, low 40s. It was windy. It was spitting rain. Did those guys complain about how cold it was? No, they played ball. And it was a great series because the Red Sox were down 3-0. And I remember Damon hit a home run. It's like, that could be this match that finally wakes this team up. And it did. What a great series it turned out to be. Nobody complained. You just looked at the fans. Hell, some were wearing parkas. Nobody was complaining about how cold it was. No, there was no outcry that we need to cover up Yankee Stadium, Tiger Stadium, Comiskey, Wrigley, Camden Yards, whatever the hell the Mets are, Citi Field. No. But they whined in Texas. And you know, if you watch the news, there's it's probably still around 25,000 people moving into the state every month. Well, what has been done to increase the grid? Nothing since the fiasco of 2020 where we lost power for 4 days, 5 days. In the winter, that was miserable. Dozens of people died. Billions of dollars in damages happened. And who paid the price? Was it Abbott? No. Was it ERCOT? No. All those people resigned with their checks and ran off. So nothing has been done. I remember Abbott signed some BS legislation that's all it was BS. Doesn't take effect until, was it this year or next year? But nothing's been done. But you let major league teams have an air-conditioned stadium. Well, that's just a bunch of crap. I'm not a fan of that. I really don't want to go to a game because seeing it on TV, it's dark. I want the sun. I want to feel the air. I remember going to a Houston Astros game back in the 60s. late 60s. Dad took us to Astro World, and we were sitting right by one of the air conditioner vents. That's the coldest I've ever been in a game because it was summertime. We're wearing shorts. We froze in there. I've been to several games in the Astrodome where it was cold. Went and saw the last Bluebonnet. It was a deep freeze. That had to have been 83, the winter of 83, 84. It was cold down there. But Abbott's done nothing to upgrade the grid. Well, this uncontrolled growth is going to cost us. And when these announcers want to pat themselves on the back and say what a great job the Ranger organization is doing, that's all just lip service. You want to really make a difference? Then get a can opener and pull that roof back. When the grid is under distress, you turn off the AC units. You roll back that dome. That is making a sacrifice because it's obvious from what you're all making, you're not sacrificing much. And then when Grieve made the comment, well, you know, we turn fans on in our home and you almost can't tell the difference. One, I want to know how big Tom Grieve's house is. Was it 4,000, 5,000 square feet? And what did he turn the thermostat down to? Because I know when I was struggling and needed help, when my wife and kids would go to Kansas, I don't care, especially in the summer, I opened up all the windows in our trailer and I turned the AC to 80, or I would turn it off while I was at work during the day. And then when I got home, I'd shut the windows as the sun went down. Yeah, it was uncomfortable, but hey, it is what it is. And then I'd set the thermostat to 75 or 80. Somewhere in there, I was trying to keep our costs down. I didn't care about the grid because I didn't think about it back then. But today, when these people say, oh, well, they've raised the temperature 3 degrees. How many cubic feet are they having to cool in that dome? How many kilowatts are they drawing on? My wife and I went to a couple of games with our kids out in center field. Yeah, they were cheap seats, and it was brutal during the summer. Once the sun went down, hey, it was okay. We could deal with it. But it was a choice. My point here is, one, Abbott has done nothing to upgrade the grid. And two, the Rangers and their announcers that are paid for homers, you want to make a difference, you want to pat yourselves on the back, then roll that damn dome back. Roll the roof back and let these guys play in real weather. Look at all the people from the Hall of Fame before them. From the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, before they had any Gatorade. All they had, for the most part, was a water fountain, salt tablets, and a lot of them chewed tobacco. And that's how they got through it. They played double headers in this oppressive heat. It might not get as hot in New York, in Detroit, in Baltimore, but you throw the humidity in that they get from the Atlantic or coming off of the Great Lakes, and if you've got 85 to 90 degrees, and you throw that humidity in there, man, it is appallingly oppressive. It's just like being in Houston. It's brutal. But they don't whimper and whine because they're outdoor venues, and that's the way it's supposed to be. And that really does conclude my rant. But I'm just sick of the pussification and the lame excuses that these announcers for the Rangers keep making, and the false platitudes that they want to give this organization for Oh, we raised the temperature 3 degrees. Raise it all the way, open it up. Because when the grid is in trouble, there are things that are a hell of a lot more important. Because, they got to run that thing during the day if there's not a game and they leave it closed. Think about that. How much money? I don't give a damn what the Rangers are paying in electrical bills. I'm looking at how many megawatts, how many kilowatts are you pulling off of that system every day that roof is closed? Because honestly, it's unessential, it's unnecessary, and it's just a bunch of crap. You all have a good day. I will talk to you later.